Okay, good evening, everyone. How are you today?
Good evening, teacher.
Good evening, teacher.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So welcome to our encounter number 7. And to share what we are going to do today. And so first of all, I want to apologize because last week I couldn't attend to the encounter, but I have had my kids a little bit sick, and my girl was very sick last Wednesday, so that's why I couldn't attend the encounter. Okay, so today we are going to talk about cooperative learning method. So the goals for today are the ones that you see here. So the first one is to identify the main characteristics of the cooperative learning method and its methodology. And the second one is to take advantage of cooperative learning to implement it in your instruction. Okay, so those are the two goals that we have for today. Well, there is a spelling mistake here in characteristics. I'm sorry about that. And well, the agenda that we have for today is this one. First, we will talk about what is cooperative learning. Then we will see a little bit about theoretical support, its principles, strategies, structures, advantages. Sorry, there is another mistake here. Disadvantages, the teacher roles, the student roles, and finally we will have some time for questions. Okay, so that is what we are going to talk about today. So this is the last methodology that we will cover during the course. Tomorrow we will have an encounter again. That will be shorter because it is just for closing the course, talking about the conclusions, and talking a little bit about your grades, and that would be the end of the course. Okay? So, before talking about what cooperative learning is, I would like to ask you if you know something about this methodology. What do you know? Maybe have you implemented it before? Have experience like learning?
Teacher, can I give you some advice? As this is possible, you try to close the microphone for everybody for try to make some clear exposition.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Well, okay, do you know something about this methodology? Okay, remember that you can use the chat or you can turn on your microphones if you want to say something. Okay. No? Okay, well, so let's start. So here you have the definition of the cooperative learning methodology. Give me 1 second, please. Okay. So it is the instructional use of small groups so that students work together to maximize their own and each other's learning. So this is a definition given by Johnson & Johnson in 1991. And here you have another one that is cooperative learning is an approach to group work that maximizes the occurrence of those unpleasant situations and maximizes the learning and satisfaction that result from working on a high performance team. So here you have highlight two of the most important authors that talk about cooperative learning. So, it is not just getting your students to work together or to work in groups. It is something else. So that is what we are going to see today. Okay? Do you want to say something about this, about the definitions? So let's continue. So his theoretical support is based on Kagan's key concepts. So he was like the first person that talked about cooperative learning. And he stated four basic principles of cooperative learning. The first one was positive interdependence. The second one was individual accountability. The third one was equal participation. And the fourth one was simultaneous interaction. According to him, you need those four principles if you want to have real cooperative learning. But some authors complemented these principles. One of them was Johnson and Johnson, and they included and changed a little bit those principles. So they talk about individual accountability, they talk about interpersonal and small group skills, they continue talking about positive interdependence, face-to-face promoted interaction, and group processing. And they call this model learning together model. I'm going to base my presentation on Johnson and Johnson's theory because I consider they included important aspects and they complemented Kagan's theories in a very good way. So that's why I'm going to talk about these principles. Okay, so before continuing with the presentation, do you know something about these principles, or what do you understand about individual accountability, interpersonal and small group skills, positive interdependence, face-to-face promotive interaction, and group processing? Do you want to talk about them or just one of them? You can.
Teacher, I think that it sounds to me that a social issue has to be included in the classroom because of the interpersonal and small group skills that I can read as a feature and group processing. So I think that the social issue would be a big thing to this approach.
You're right, Blanca. Yes, cooperative learning is the social skills, and this principle, interpersonal and small group skills, is focused on that, on developing social skills on students, because when you work with someone else, you need to have those skills. So you are right. Okay, someone else? Or what do you imagine when you see those principles?
Tisha, for example, when you say face-to-face promotive interaction, that's a, for example, I have the opportunity to work with this kind of methodology in my classes and someone else of there, and that's really important when the students try to make the interaction and I try to work in a cooperative job. That's really important to have a face-to-face and try to make it work. Some kind of difficult things when these kind of methodologies, for example, when the students don't have the interests in classes or on a topic. I mean, it's just possible when you try to put more work, strong work for the other classmates and don't do it the exercise. That's some really complicated about this kind of activity, but the rest of the proposals are really, really good.
You're right, John. Thank you very much. Yeah, as you said, well, this method already has some advantages and disadvantages that we will see later on. But yes, you're right. It is based on interaction. If you want to have like a communicative environment, this is one more thing to implement in your list. Okay, thank you very much, John. Someone else?
Teacher, I can say that sometimes I try to involve these kind of activities in my classes. And for example, when I was working with preschoolers, this kind of learning is very appropriate for children because we can integrate the whole theory about, for example, the vocabulary acquisition by sharing ideas and making expositions about the any topic I'm going to teach. And for example, that part that is face-to-face promotive interaction is very interesting because in small groups, children can share their ideas about the topic we are learning. For example, the parts of the face for saying something, and they can share and integrate the whole knowledge they have in order to improve their critical thinking and also being more and have an analysis about the features that we are trying to involve in this class for saying something. And also promotes the individual development because they are able to express their opinions and also to integrate other facts like the part that they recognize in their bodies, all those parts, and can say the difference between each other. So this kind of learning is very interesting in my case for preschoolers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Shannon, thank you very much. Right, you're right. We have another methodology that is similar to this one, that is collaborative learning, but it is more focused on adult education. So if you want to use this with children, it is better to use cooperative learning because it is more structured and it is more appropriate to work with children. Okay, so Lida says that individual accountability would be related with having roles in the groups. Yes, you're right. And Sandra says cooperative learning helps to raise achievement of students, build positive relationships among students, important for creating a learning community that values diversity and provides experiences that develop both good learning skills and social skills. Yes, that's something important. That with cooperative learning, you can build like a sense of community. Very good. Okay, well, so I'm going to try to explain each of these principles. Yeah, well, this is like a summary because this is a very big methodology and it has a lot of theory. But well, I try to summarize this. Well, the first one, that is positive interdependence, well, refers to individuals that encourage and facilitate each other's efforts, complete their part of the work, but to ensure that other group members contribute to accomplishing the group goal. So it is like working together to reach a common goal. That's something like in individual accountability. Students accept responsibility for their part of the task and the achievement of the group goal. So they have like a part of the task, they have assigned a work to do, and it helps to achieve the goal that the group has. In group processing, you have assessment of cooperative learning, which focuses on students' feedback of the learning process. It requires group members to assess their roles and contribution to the success of all tasks. So this is like a reflective process students should do when implementing cooperative learning. So they need to assess their working together, and they have to provide feedback to each other. Promotive interaction, according to Johnson & Johnson, involves group members encouraging and facilitating each other's efforts as they work together. Okay, so that is trying to help the members of the group encourage them and facilitate them and facilitate their work. Group autonomy encourages problem solving so learners have the choice to take responsibility for their learning process. As students can work together, they interact, developing autonomy and cooperation. As a result, students learn how to negotiate, how to solve problems, and how to develop another kind of abilities. This is something really important in cooperative learning, that is autonomy. Since they have specific roles and they have some goals to achieve, it encourages a lot autonomy. So those are like the principles that you have to take into account when you are going to implement cooperative learning. Are they clear? Do you want to add something else? Do you have questions?
Yes, I have a question because it sounds to me very interesting and very close to the working in groups, right? But what happened, I know that is, as you said, positive interdependence. They are more individuals into the group, right? But what happened with the children? How they can be motivated to interact in this kind of approach?
Yeah, you're right. Well, we have different kinds of students, and as we are going to see in the advantages and disadvantages of this the methodology, well, that's something that happens. That is one disadvantage. It is sometimes difficult to involve shy students in this kind of methodology. But to solve that, we have like the student roles. When you work with cooperative learning, it is important to establish goals for your students to develop, and they depend on different things. You can assign them like social roles or cognitive roles depending on the needs of your students. In this case, well, if you want, we can wait a little bit to answer that question, because I would like to share first the different roles we can have in this kind of methodology, and talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages. And then we go back to your question, Blanca.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, questions about the principles or comments? Okay, so let's
I
continue.
may have a question, but I don't know if will be answered later. How is it different from project-based learning?
Okay, yeah. Well, it is different because to implement project-based learning, well, you don't necessarily need to have goals in your students. Sometimes you don't need to have all of these principles. Well, and the activities could be a little bit different, because when you are going to implement cooperative learning, you have some specific activities that we will talk about them, that, well, the authors that talk about cooperative learning call them strategies or structures. They don't call them activities, and they are a little bit different from projects. So maybe when we talk about the definition of structures and strategies, you can see the difference. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, more questions? Comments? Okay. So this is what I was telling you.
Teacher, excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you please just return the previous slide? Because sometimes we can get a little bit confused about the group autonomy with my partner said about the project task learning, because sometimes a student can work together and interact, developing autonomy, but this group autonomy is not based completely in problem solving activity, because they can choose the problem they are going to solve in order to make a project about the knowledge they acquire or they are going to develop, and also the skills they are going to improve. But in this part, this group autonomy um, also involves problem solving and all the things. So how we can differ about that?
How can you differentiate group autonomy from problem solving? Is that your question?
Excuse me, teacher?
How can we differentiate group autonomy from problem solving? Is that your question?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, group autonomy is just a principle of this methodology. And the idea of this principle is to encourage this ability in students to solve problems, but it is not based on problems all of the time. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like a skill that this principle help you to develop in your students as a teacher. But it is not like the methodology. It is a skill.
Okay.
So all that you have here are principles. So that you have to take into account when you implement cooperative learning. Yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, so as I was telling you before, well, Kagan has like a complete bank of strategies or structures that are specific activities that you can use when implementing cooperative learning. They are classified in different types, and they are many. I could say that they are like 1,000 strategies or structures that are classified depending on the needs that you have in your classroom. They could be thinking strategies, they could be social strategies, they could be language strategies, cognitive strategies. Well, depending on the goal that you have and on the skills that you want to develop with your students. Yeah, but well, they were planned according to this methodology. So sometimes if you want to implement cooperative learning in your classrooms, you need to research a little bit about the structures or strategies that are activities that you can use. Okay, so according to Kagan, he says that each structure performs at least one function better than any other structure. Knowledge of each structure is essential if a teacher is to be as efficient as possible in reaching the range of learning objectives. So, as I told you, you have to choose the structure according to the functions they have and according to what you want to develop in your students. So here you have some examples of different structures. So we have the three-step interview. Well, this is like an activity that you can develop in groups of 4 or 6 students, and it consists of giving students questions or a topic to discuss. So the first step is like thinking about the answer to the question or the topic the student is going to discuss. The second step is like sharing that information or sharing that answer with one member of the group. So it would be in pairs. And the third step would be sharing that information or sharing that answer with the whole group. So that is why it's called three-step interview. Another example is Jigsaw. Maybe you have implemented this. that is that each member of the group has, for example, a part of a reading, or well, a part of, well, like a part of something, and the idea is to complete that reading with the whole group. For example, one member of the group has the first paragraph of the reading, the second person in the group has the other part, well, and each person has a part, and then they share that information, and they together uh, like build the whole reading, or the whole information. Yeah, it's like each member of the group, or you can do it each group, it depends, can have a part of the information, and then each person or each group has to socialize that with the rest of the groups, or with the rest of the members of the group, depending on the way you plan that activity. Yeah, round robin is like taking turns to do a specific task, or to share um, a specific answer to a question. But well, this is focused on taking turns to talk, or taking turns to present something. You have another one that is who am I, that is like a guessing exercise. And you have another one that is think per share, that is similar to the 3-step interview, where students have some time to think about the, the thing they are going to talk about. Then they get together in pairs, and finally they share the information with the rest of the group. Well, so these are just 5 examples, because I told you before, as I told you before, there are many structures or strategies that you can use to develop cooperative learning. So if you want to use it, well, I would suggest you to read a little bit about the strategies and structures you can use. Because, well, they are already planned, so you don't need to think about them, because they have like the steps, the instructions to be given. Okay, so that is one of the difference with project-based, because well, these are like specific activities, and they are like smaller than project. That was the question that Giancarlo did before. Do we have questions about this? How many students could be involved in each group, large groups or small groups? Well, they said that the maximum number of students per group could be 60 students, but they recommend, if you have the possibility, to have just 4. But the maximum number of students would be 6. Okay. Well, so
Teacher, I
yeah.
have a question. Sorry. That's it's what's the better way when, for example, it's better that each one of the students decided what who wants to work, or I just prefer the teacher try to decide, okay, the group number 1 is this, or what is the best? I mean, I try to work with the both strategies, and one have some results, and the other ones have the other one results. But what is better in your? What do you consider is better?
Well, I think that is not like the best way to do it, because it depends on your students' needs. Well, sometimes some teachers give the students the possibility to choose the roles they want to develop, and other teachers assign the roles to students. Well, it depends, because well, it depends on the level of autonomy your students have. If they have a good level of autonomy, you can give them the option to choose the roles. But if you see that they are not autonomous enough, so you can assign the role. You can. Yeah?
Teacher.
Yeah.
Excuse me, teacher, but about the question of John's. In my case, sometimes I choose the students in order to form any group, because one thing that I consider is the different abilities or different skills that the students have. And maybe depending on the work or the task, we decide what the students come for any group in order to improve the activity according to their abilities or skills.
Yeah, that is one possibility. You can organize the groups according to the students' abilities. You can have mixed ability groups, or you can have like a basic student with an intermediate student and advanced student. So they help each other. That would be a way to have mixed ability groups. And others, well, you can have other kind of groups like they have with the same level of well, language or cognitive skills. So everything depends. For example, these authors don't recommend any of them. They say that that is up to the teacher and and according to the student needs. So sometimes if you assign rules, it's going to work better, but in other cases, if you give the student the possibility to choose their role, it is going to work better as well. So it depends. It depends. You have to analyze your context to make those decisions.
Sorry, teacher. I
Yeah.
think it's good as well to use a kind of game. For example, I used to have some sticks,
Okay. Yeah.
and you can use different colors, and you can play like a game, and that is good for students to activate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be like a random way to assign roles. That's another possibility. Yeah.
Teacher,
Yeah.
but about this sharing and pair, the book that my students were working about have that part. It was kind of sharing because it said that in pairs or in groups of 4 students, share and pair your opinion about the I don't know the topic we're talking about in a moment. But sometimes I decided just to choose the groups and say the 3 of you are going to work on this part of the topic, and you and you and you, and try to solve that parent shared activity in order to integrate the topic. But because sometimes, for example, in my case, the citizenship is a topic that involves many issues like values and behaviors and all this stuff. So sometimes it's better when you let the students choose their pairs, but sometimes it's the other side of the coin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Thank you very much for your idea. So, I think that in two slides we are going to see the way um, to form groups. So we'll talk a little about that in a moment. Well, in relation to the advantages, so we have many. So here we have some. It increases one's self-esteem. It develops social skills and thinking skills. It encourages students to be able to learn on their own. Students have the opportunity to work with other members of the class. Students start to be responsible for their own education. It promotes team spirit rather than feeling the rivalry. It encourages students to learn to work together and learn an atmosphere of achievement and solidarity. Promotes positive relationships. Increases self-esteem and psychological adjustment. Diminishes students' anxiety to speak in front of the class. For example, this is a good way to, to start developing speaking in your students, because sometimes when you ask a student to speak in front of the whole class, they are going to feel anxious, they are going to feel afraid. And if you have shy students, they are not going to do it. But if you start working with cooperative learning, where they have just to talk in front of 2 or 3 classmates, it's going to be easier for them. So this is a good methodology to develop speaking skills. Well, so here you have advantages, but you also have some disadvantages. So here you have some of them. Students with a low level of self-esteem try to avoid participation. The fact that one student works and others get the grades, that is something that happens frequently when working in groups. Competition among teams is something seen as a possible disadvantage, that maybe they don't like working in cooperative groups or they don't like to show their lack of knowledge to other students. Bright students may try to take the control of any activities ordered in the classrooms. And when students are working in their groups, it could be difficult for the teacher to get the class attention. So those are some of the disadvantages. But according to Kagan, if you implement the principle in the proper way, this is not going to happen. So disadvantages are joined to wrong management of the principle or a wrong implementation of the principle. According to him, that's what he says. So, so these are some situations that we can face when we try to implement cooperative learning. That is why something that is really important when implementing this methodology is training. You cannot start working with cooperative learning if you don't train your students with them. So if you want them to have roles, if you want them to follow the principles, and if you want them to reach the goals of your lesson, they need training first. So you can have like practical exercises where they try to develop their roles, functions, or you can give them like a handout with the functions according to the rules. So this is something really important, training. So they need like training classes, training sessions before developing real strategies or structures under cooperative learning methodology. Okay. Questions, comments, or ideas? Yeah. Okay, so here you have like the teacher role. So these are like the 5 main important roles of the teacher. So the first one is setting objectives, planning, giving arrangement. That is something important. You have different forms to see the students. So well, they are going to be in groups, but well, we can have different ways to do it. So you have to plan that. You can also give like a specific place inside each group for each student. You also have to assess students' achievement, monitor the effectiveness of cooperative learning groups, and explaining the task and goal structure. So these are like the roles of the teacher. And you also have the student roles. Well, you can have different roles. So here you have just some examples. As I told you before, well, roles can be assigned according to different needs. They can be social roles, they could be cognitive roles, they could be assigned according to their level of knowledge. Well, and here you have some examples. And you can have different names. For example, here you have the coach, but it could be also the leader, or it could be the captain. Well, and you have some examples of the functions these roles have. So the coach, in this case, encourages his or her partners and attempts to motivate the team. Gets everyone to pay attention to others and makes sure every voice is heard. Focuses work around the task and helps team members members to master academic content. Uses expressions such as "Let's listen to John" or "That's interesting, but let's get back to our task. Remember, etc., etc." That is something that is effective for students to give them like the expressions they can use to develop their roles. We have another one that is the recorder. Sometimes you can call him like the secretary or the notes taker, for example. So this person records the team's ideas on a separate piece of paper and places it on the table. Checks ideas to be clear and accurate, uses charts, colors, and other techniques to highlight and summarize the team ideas. Uses expressions such as "What is your idea? What is your idea, please? How would you like to? How would you like me to write this? Wait a moment and take notes, etc. Another role that we have here is the presenter. So here is the person that presents the team's ideas, conclusions, and summarizes to the class. Presents the group's own work to the class. Uses expressions such as "How would you like this to sound? Do you think I am expressing the idea properly?" And another one that is the speech captain, that this person could be also called the time taker. So keeps the team on task, announces when time is halfway through or nearly up, puts on the time pressure, says expressions like "We have not done the task yet, let's hurry, we only have a minute left, our time is almost up." So when you assign students roles, this is something really important. You have to give that role a name and you have to give specific functions to that role. And if you want, you can include the expressions that person can use. Okay? But this is like the main characteristic of cooperative learning. The students need to have roles. And these roles cannot be for one day because the students need to take ownership of that role. So they need time to practice and to perform the role in a proper way. So roles need to last like at least a week if you want your students to work effectively with the role. Do you know more examples of roles that your students could have in the groups? What ideas about other roles that your students can have? Okay. Well, questions, comments? This is a methodology that is very effective when you are working with large groups. It is a way to have like an order with them. Yeah. Giancarlo, tell me.
Yes, I wanted to say that if when applying this methodology to teach English, since I read the one of the inconveniences is that it you know it would allow for some students not to work too much while others do the rest of the job. While implementing it, is there any way for us to combine it with more individual work so that students can work at times on their individual skills that they need to develop? Because one reflection that I had from a last session that I had these days was that I was trying to get all my students to work in groups, but I started noticing that some of them were relying much more on the job that the others did in order to achieve the whole the whole goal that was set for the group. And I was kind of worried to find a way to solve the issue. So what would you recommend for those cases when you notice that even though there is a group, you notice that there is a student that is starting to rely more on the others and not do the job, like to develop their own personal skills?
Yeah. Well, yes, it could happen. But, well, according to the individual accountability principle, that's why it's very important to design strategies properly, because you cannot just give a group an activity like, well, you have to read this and, for example, give me the conclusions, because each student needs to have like a specific responsibility. So that's why it's very important to design activities according to the methodology you are developing. It is supposed that each student is going to have a specific part of the work to do. Yeah. So well, if you do that, it is supposed that it is not going to happen. But well, it is also important to train them. The training part is really important because the students need to get aware about the responsibility they have when working in groups. So first, before starting working with cooperative learning, we have to start like a process of helping students get aware of the importance of this methodology. That is something different, that they have like a responsibility in their groups, and with practice they are going to know that they have a specific role, and the idea is that the members of the group ask each member to work to show a result. But well, it is a long process, and that is like one of the difficult parts of this methodology. But well, sometimes you can work. Well, it is not necessarily to work the whole lesson with cooperative learning, with the cooperative learning methodology. It could be just one part of the lesson, and you can mix it with individual work. Well, it depends. But sometimes, if you see that the student is not doing what he or she needs to do, well, you need to talk to that student. But it is like a reflection process that you have to develop with your students first.
Okay, so basically training before implementing the strategy is key for the process to succeed and avoid having students laid back while the others do the job.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you're welcome. Okay. More questions? Or ideas? Okay. Well, so this is like the last topic that I wanted to share with you. Well, in relation to the course closure, tomorrow we are going to have the final encounter, and that is just to share the conclusions of the course, to see if you have questions about grades, about the process to close everything. On Friday, I will be typing grades on ASIS. You have not received your feedback on the third recording. Some of you are going to receive it today after the encounter, and others are going to receive it tomorrow. So you would have Thursday to check, well, on Thursday morning, all of your grades will be posted in the virtual classroom in the file that we have in the assessment section of the course. So you are going to have Thursday to check that everything is correct. And you would have also Friday. I will type grades after 5 p.m. And if you have something to tell me, you please do it before Thursday, before 5 p.m. Yeah. So you will receive the feedback today and tomorrow, and grades will be ready on Thursday morning. So it's just for,
Teacher, excuse me.
yeah,
So for tomorrow, we are going to have our last encounter
yeah,
at the same hour.
yeah.
And also tomorrow we are going to share the grades and all these things.
You
And
are
for Thursday,
yeah. Continue.
we are going to have the grades.
On Thursday morning, you are going to have. Well, if I can do it, well, I hope to have them ready tomorrow night. But to be sure, on Thursday morning, you will have all of your grades. And
Okay.
you will be receiving the feedback on your third recording today, some of you today, and others tomorrow. Yeah, that is the only grade we are missing, because the rest you have them in the file. Okay, and your self-evaluation, that all of you already sent it, so I just need to pass it to the file. And the recording and the grade that corresponds to today's and tomorrow's encounter.
Okay, because I was going to write to you about 2 encounters that I don't have the grade. I mean, in the file that is in the platform, I don't have the third and the sixth one, but I already posted in the forum. So I was going to ask you about that. And I know that we don't have some grades. So it's better to wait.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay.
But yeah, and if you see that is something wrong or that I missed something, please write to me.
So
Before,
in my case, it's about that 2 encounters, the third one and the sixth one, that I don't have any grades on the file that is in the platform, but I already posted in the forum. So
okay, but I want to remind you, well, not just you, but all of you, that well, if you want to have the grade that corresponds to an encounter that you didn't attend, and I think that I told you this in the last encounter, you need like a support document of that absence. Yeah. For example, if you have a medical leave, or if you have like a personal situation and you have the support, that's the way you can have the grade participating in the forum, but if you have the support.
because for that encounters, I already wrote to your email with the news about that.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you wrote to me, so I'm going to answer to you through your email. Well, those are particular situations. And
Yeah.
if you have questions, you can write to me and I answer.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote to your email, and also I made the post in the forum, so I made the 2 things for both.
Okay, yeah. So please check the grades
Thursday.
on Thursday morning, and if you see that there is something, you tell me on Thursday and before Friday at 5 p.m.
Okay, I will wait.
Okay,
Thank you, teacher.
you're welcome.
Sure, my concern is about the first class, because for me, the time of the day was confusing. I wasn't able to find the schedule for the classes in the first week.
Okay, so please, Andres, write to me. Send me a message or an email and I answer. Okay?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Do you have more questions?
Teacher, I think that is a suggestion I made about that first encounter, because that thing happens to me too, about the first encounter.
Okay.
So I suggest that you have to check that issue about encounters.
Okay. So I answered to you through the email.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Something else? Okay. Well, thank you very much. So remember that tomorrow we have the final encounter at the same time. I think that there is just one person that has not sent the self-evaluation yet, and I think that is John Jaramillo. So please don't forget to do that, because that is an important part of the final grade. The rest, I will check in this morning, and all of you send the self-evaluation. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much for attending the session, and see you tomorrow. Have a good night.